It depends. Okay, the question has been answered. No other doubts. You can close the video and go play IS. You know everything you need to know. Okay, but if you want to be serious, the answer really is that it depends on why you're playing IS and why you're asking this question. So this video can't really be that short. It has to explain a few things. And since this is meant for new players, I kind of noticed that I have to do a brief introduction, a bit of explanation on what IS is and what is in it. Because it is very possible that a new player doesn't know this, and any explanation that I do would use terms that they don't know and they wouldn't understand anything. So you can look at the timestamps of the video. Obviously, it is best if you watch it in order, but if you want to skip to a specific part, I will try my best to make it so that you can understand it without the previous parts. The first part will be a brief introduction of IS. Then we will talk about the difficulty of the various IS in case someone is starting IS really early without a developed team. That's useful. Maybe you want to start from easy one. Then we will talk about the rewards, which one is better for farming. And then we will talk about other priorities that players may have. I don't know, maybe they prefer having less randomness or simpler stages. It really depends. Let's start by talking about what IS is. IS is a roguelike mod in Arknights. Roguelikes are mods or games that can be replayed multiple times and have heavily randomized elements, maps, and stuff like that. In particular, when you go to IS in this page, also random thing to note, but if you click here, it brings you to the latest IS, in this case IS5. But if you click on View All Teams, it brings you to this page where there are all the various IS. Note, it starts from IS2. These are IS2, 3, 4, and 5. IS1 has been playable for a while, but then it has been removed from the game. It was just a try for the mod, and you can't play it anymore. You can also reach this page by going inside one of IS and then clicking on the back. I'm just specifying this because the first time I played IS, I found this menu incredibly confusing. So a roguelike mod is like an adventure with randomized elements. What is the objective of this adventure? It is to reach the ending of the mod, the final boss, and beat it. In the case of IS, I now show you a map. As you can see, there are various, these are called nodes. You enter a node, then you go to the next, then you choose your route until the end of the floor. A usual IS run is composed by 5 different floors, with a boss at the end of the 3rd floor and another boss, the final boss, at the end of the 5th floor. There can be extra floors, various things that change, but that's how it is usually done. There are 5 basic types of nodes that are present in all IS. These are the combat node. You enter this, there is an Arknight stage, you fight with a team of operators against enemies, and you beat them. And you get a new operator for your squad. We will talk about that later. Then there are emergency operations, which are combat nodes but harder, a bit like challenge mode, and they give better rewards. They give you collectibles. Collectibles are artifacts, objects, call them whatever you want, that you will collect here, and they buff your team. It is the usual roguelike buff item that you collect while wandering the map to become stronger for the final boss. They can buff your operator's attack speed, they can reduce the TP cost, they can give initial DP on the stages, they have a myriad of effects. Just know that they make you stronger. Then there are encounters, which are incredibly random nodes. There can be anything in them, from a special fight to some resources to some completely useless stuff. And then there is the downtime recreation that is pretty much a mini game. It depends on the AS if it is good or bad, but usually it is a way to dump extra resources near the end of the run. And then there is this node, the Rogue Trader, which is pretty much the shop. You go in there, you have resources that you have collected while wandering the map in the other nodes, and you buy items, operators, stuff that you need. These are the 5 basic nodes that compose all IS. There are special nodes for various AS, but we won't talk about them. In AS, you use your own operators. You start with 3 operators. As you can see, at the start, you can choose one of these squads that give different classes. For now, I will take this one. Okay, there are wishers that let you take one of the operators from that class that you own. So I want to take a Vanguard. I'll take my Fang, okay? My Fang is level 55, skill level 7. I get Fang at level 55, skill level 7. If my Fang was level 1, skill level 1, I will get her at level 1, skill level 1. So you have to have leveled your operators. One thing to note, if you want to recruit higher rarity operators, you will need to consume a resource called Hope, that is a limited resource, so you can't just play with a full team of 6 stars. You have to use lower rarity operators. And when you recruit an operator, it has a level cap, which is Elite 1 level max. If you have an Elite 2 level 50 operator and you recruit it, it will be brought down, just for the duration of the run, to Elite 1 level max. If you want to use it at Elite 2, you have to take the same recruitment wisher, you have to find it, and then recruit the same operator again, and it will be promoted to the max level at which you have it. Ideally, if you have it at Elite 2 level 90, it is Elite 2 level 90. Same for the skill levels. One thing to note is that at the start of the run, you can take a support unit. Here, you can only take one unit as support, and you can take it only at the start of the run. But it will not be capped at Elite 1 for the full run, even if you don't have any of your own Elite 2. Which means I take this Elite 2 Chen, a recruiter. Since it is the first recruitment, she will be Elite 1 level max. But then, if I find another sniper ticket, I can promote her to Elite 2, even if none of my own units are Elite 2. This is different from usual gameplay, because in usual gameplay, if you don't have any Elite 2 of your own in the squad, you won't be able to use support Elite 2. Here, you can, which means no matter what, you can just start with a sniper ticket, get a support Wishadel at max level, promote her, and then have Wishadel destroy IS. That's a viable strategy. One last thing is that between the starting squads, there is always this squad that gives you random recruitment wishers. Random is obviously usually bad, because it's better if you know what you're going to use, but it's also the essence of roguelite. So if you like having a different run every time, you can go with this. But not this, it grants you a temporary recruitment ticket. What does this mean? Temporary recruitment is an exclusive mechanic of IS. You go to recruit your unit, and as you can see, this is a temporary recruitment. It is a maxed out unit that is not your unit. It is a random operator. You take it, and it will be Elite 1 level max, and then if you promote it, it will be Elite 2 level max with all masteries, with a module maxed, everything. Obviously, a 4-star has a limited usefulness, but if your roster is weak, having a random maxed out Elite 2 can help sometimes, if it is not their spirit. You get at least one more recruitment ticket after every combat or emergency operation, and you can buy tickets here and there. The last thing to know about IS is that every IS has its own skill tree. In the case of IS3, it's here. As you can see, for example, your units get more defense, You can also get more HP for your units, or you can start with more HP, or even you can unlock new features for VIS. This skill tree is extremely important because it makes you a lot stronger in AS. Here, this skill tree is only health complete, but it is already plus 9% attack and plus 9% defense, which can look like low numbers, but it is a passive, it is a lot. And I think this is a big reason why sometimes veteran players make mistakes in the recommendations because they are so used to playing with the skill tree maxed out that we don't realize that when you start playing IS, you won't have all of this stuff, and grinding it out takes quite some time. So if you play without any of this, it will be a completely different experience. These are all the mechanics behind IS, but you should also know that playing IS doesn't cost sanity, but it still gives you some rewards. In particular, every IS has this track where you gain experience by playing, and when you reach the corresponding level, you gain rewards. For example, some experience tickets, some R&D, and every IS also has one specific operator that you gain by playing IS. In this case, for IS3, it is Igon. And this operator will be buffed when playing their IS. This reward track is pretty long and it ends at a level which depends on the IS. For S3, it is 170. It is quite a lot of resources to get without expending any sanity, but consider that it will take months of playing to get all of these. So if you're playing IS exclusively to farm, it will be a really, really boring grind if you don't like the mod. With all of this said, let's talk about which one is the easiest. You don't necessarily have to start from the easiest, but knowing it is useful, especially because sometimes players want to start playing IS early, either for the resources, either because they find it really fun, and they struggle to complete any run. So starting from the easiest one can actually help you a bit. I've been playing IS for a few months using only Elite 1 characters, mostly 4 stars. And I started from no skill tree at all and slowly went up to having half of a skill tree in each of them, alternating them a bit, learning the stages and everything. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what a new player could meet. Actually, a new player would probably have some Elite Shoe 6 stars that could carry them. But I think this is most important for those who are struggling. So let's say that I had some runs where I struggled a bit because of my limitations. I think the easiest by far is IS2. IS2 is a bit different from the others because IS usually has a difficulty system that goes from 0 to 15, 18 depending on the IS. But IS2 only has easy, normal, hard. The usual difficulty system will be introduced in a future update. If you watch this video later, you may already have that update. So the easy difficulty is Castle Sightseeing. When you play Castle Sightseeing, you get a special artifact at the start of the run that gives you extra HP, attack, and defense. It is 35% attack and defense, if I remember correctly, and that's a lot on all your units passively. So that makes the run much, much easier. Another reason why IS2 is the easiest is that there are only the basic nodes. It doesn't have any special mechanics at all, or like it has some, but they are really small, really easy to learn. This experience, you learn the basics of the game mode. The stages are actually also simpler. It only has older types of enemies that are overall more simple, that you also meet closer to the start of your Arknights experience. It's more familiar for a new player. And it is a good starting platform for later IS. Also, another very important thing is that the skill tree for IS2 is incredibly weak. Like half of the skill tree only gives you this much buffs, which are still some, but like it is way less than the other AS, and it doesn't unlock any special nodes. It doesn't give you any other special effects. It's just a few stats. So not having the skill tree doesn't change your experience much in IS2. You can easily start from this. It will be the easiest AS on caster sightseeing. I'm only talking about the difficulty, not the others. One thing to note is that playing a caster sightseeing will give you less rewards on the reward track and won't let you unlock some things. So you will get the fun, you will complete your runs, but you will get a bit less rewards. If you don't care about that, start from this, or at least complete it a couple of times just to learn how IS works. Also, the boss stage here, at least for the standard ending, the first ending that you meet, is really, really easy at this difficulty. You just place a couple of snipers pointing to the right for some enemies. The boss does some damage that you can somewhat easily survive. So just overall an easy run. Okay, this last part may be a bit disconnected, but I forgot to record this when I was recording the video. I'm adding it later. Also to note, in Ice 2, if you take Wish Shadow, you win in Castle Sightseeing. Because I tried it. I tried the stream where I took Wish Shadow, I went on a Castle Sightseeing run, and I just couldn't figure out a way to lose when using a support Wish Shadow. So if you just want to complete a Castle Sightseeing run using a support unit, take Wish Shadow, you can't lose. I have the stream, I will link it in the description if you want to see what happened, but it is really, really, really almost impossible to lose. The next easiest, in my opinion, is IS3 at the easy difficulty. Surging Waves will be difficulty 0. Cancias is the easy difficulty. You once again get the Silent Squad, the special artifact that gives you extra stats, and that helps make the run easier. IS3 introduces some new mechanics that are extremely punishing of mistakes. In particular, there is a mechanic that, let's just say, if you don't lick any enemies, when you reach a new floor, you have a chance to get a really strong buff for your whole squad that will last until the end of the run. But the moment you lick the first enemy and you take the first HP of damage, the possibility to get a buff becomes a possibility to get a debuff that could be a mere annoyance, or if you're unlucky, it could make your strongest operator completely useless. This is why IS3 is really punishing and you need to learn the stages. It will take a while to learn it, but overall, it is not that hard. It just has a lot of mechanics, enemies that need earth damage, enemies that need physical damage, a lot of hovering enemies that are the enemies that need to be stunned to bring them to the ground. So units with a stun are incredibly important. Cliff Art really helps against the boss because you also want to stun the boss. I take Cliff Art in pretty much all of my runs because it's just really easy to use. And I think she's given for free to new players. But there is also the welfare operator Cruise from Invitation to Wine that is really good, or literally anything that has a stun. May is also really good. I think some players use U Official, the April's Fool's unit. I've even had to use Skyfire sometimes because I didn't have the right recruitment tickets. You just want anything that can stun. The boss itself is a bit of a wimp, actually. The first time you meet the boss, you will probably be just destroyed by the mechanics because you don't know how to counter it. But once you learn a bit, you won't have many difficulties. I think the most important thing about the boss is the stat block. As you can see, it has 700 defense, and after it has been stunned, it moves really, really slowly. So you can use even something like Elite 1 Umbriel to just destroy this boss. Because 700 is quite a bit, you may struggle a bit with Elite 1 units, but with a Silent Squad, you have plus 35%. So this amount of defense pretty much only stops marksmen and no one else. Unlike in IS2, Wishadel here is not an absolute carry, but she still destroys the stages pretty much. There are some stages where maybe she may struggle slightly more, but overall, Wishadel is still a great carry. Another great carry, in my opinion, is the Game Breaker because you can just dump her near the boss spawn, use the skill, and the boss is dead. Moving on, I think next is always AS3, but difficulty 0, Surging Waves. And that's because, yes, it is quite a bit harder. Yes, you lose the 35% buff, but the boss is still doable. There are some artifacts that if you get them, you just win the run. Especially the hand for Dreadnoughts and Duelists. That thing is incredibly broken. If you happen to get it, you can have a Melanta carry you. Wishadel still destroys most stages. The boss is still kind of a wimp. It's harder to get over the 700 defense, but as long as you have a couple of Elite Q that can hit at longer range, it works perfectly. Overall, once you have learned the mechanics, which is the difficult thing, IS3 is not incredibly hard, it just has a lot of fair energy. Next, I would move to IS5. IS5 is a bit unique. It is the one that is mostly recommended for beginners. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but as far as difficulty goes, it is pretty hard when you don't have the skill tree. This is the one where the skill tree matters the most. While for IS3, I also recommended the normal difficulty because at that point you would have a bit of a skill tree. Maybe you would have unlocked the IS3 exclusive unit, which is pretty strong in IS3. IS5 is a bit different because in IS5 you can traverse an incredible number of nodes, get an incredible number of collectibles, and get incredibly strong. It is a power trip. It is a power fantasy where you get incredibly strong and you can use whatever unit to beat the final boss, okay? But moving through so many nodes requires some special squads, some special abilities that you actually unlock with a skill tree. When you don't have any of the skill tree, you have an AS that is kind of balanced around the fact that you have an insane amount of artifacts, but you don't have the artifacts, the collectibles. So that ends up being quite difficult. The first floor stages are still pretty easy, but as you reach the third or the fourth floor, you really feel that you're supposed to scale much, much faster than what you're scaling without the skill tree. You are supposed to have 40 collectibles and you have only 15 and you lose. Wishadel helps, obviously, because she's Wishadel. But S5 has a few mechanics and in particular a few stages that almost hard counter Wishadel. Like there was a stage where I couldn't find that decent tile to place Wishadel at the start. You have to start with your other units, and the stage is pretty hard. It presses you quite hard at the beginning. So if you are relying on Wishadel too much, you may actually be in trouble. There are some stages with a lot of invisible enemies and stuff like that. So IS5, if you're a beginner, if you don't have a skill tree, and if you're trying to rely on a support unit to carry you, is actually harder. If you're willing to grind the skill tree for a while and get even just around half of the skill tree, then it becomes quite a lot easier and it is way more consistent than any other AS. This is up to you. If you're willing to grind before actually starting to play, this is for you. If you're unwilling to do that, maybe come back when you can maybe clear IS3 normal difficulty and you will have a much better experience. One thing to note about IS5 is that it has a starting squad, which is kind of like a starting ability, called Top Gun Squad. You can read it on the screen now. You unlock it by completing a run, and this squad is great for beginners. So if you can complete a run, then you can rely on this squad to clear IS5. It adds a thing called Top Operator Recruitment Pusher, which grants you a random temporary recruitment 6-star. You get one at the beginning of the run, and then you get at least one in every single shop, which means by the end of the run, you can easily have 3, 4, even 5 random, which random is bad, obviously, but 6 stars. Random 6 stars at reach level max with masteries and module in your squad, even if you are a new player. So if you can complete a run and unlock this squad, then you can just start using this squad to roll over IS5 and easily win a few times. You could have some trouble with further endings if you get the wrong operators and everything, but 6 stars are 6 stars, so it's not really a big problem. You can also experiment with a few different 6 stars to see how they play using this squad, so it's pretty good. I think this is all for the difficulty order. I'm not too sure where to place IS2 normal difficulty. I would say that it is harder than anything we have talked about until now, because with a skill tree, you scale less than in other AS. So lacking the silent squad buff, the 35% extra stats hurts more. And the boss becomes particularly annoying. The right part of the map that requires snipers becomes particularly annoying because you can't get over the defense of my enemies sometimes. And the boss tends to kill your units where before they remained alive and just kill the boss. I don't talk at all about S4 because, in my personal opinion, it is way harder than the other IS. Maybe not once you have the full skill tree, but definitely when you are starting out without any of the skill tree, you will just get wrecked on the first floor if you start from IS4. And Wishadel also works slightly worse as a carry, not because the stages are designed to beat her, but because there are quite a number of drones that move quickly and come a bit at a time. So sometimes she won't have skill free ready, some drones will come and we will just enter the objective. These drones have really high arts resistance, so you can't really use the casters. You need another sniper, but you've already taken a sniper ticket at the beginning for Wishadel, a sniper ticket to promote Wishadel, and then you need a third sniper ticket for something for the drones. Sometimes you may not have it. Sometimes a single sniper at 3-1 still won't be enough for the drones. Overall, IS4 is a bit harder. Maybe leave it for last. It's really fun, but it's just that in the difficulty order, I wouldn't touch it at the start. Okay, that was extremely long. Let's move to the next part. You don't care about difficulty. You can clear any IS. You are already pretty strong, or you don't really want to play S. You are here for one reason and one reason only. You want rewards. You want to get as much stuff as you can without spending multiple hours playing. Where should you start from? IS5. IS5 has way more control than any other AS, which means that you can guarantee a win more often. It's less energy dependent. And since the run is longer, you go through more nodes, you usually end up getting more points to level up on the reward track. So I would really say that if you only want to get rewards fast, you should start from IS5. Okay, are there other priorities that you could have? Certainly, everyone has their own priorities. Like maybe you want to start from the most fun one, and that's hard to answer because fun is subjective. But if you hate roguelikes usually, and again, this is really subjective. IS is a really weird roguelike. I usually hate roguelikes, but I like IS. So you will have to play to find this out. But if you really hate RNG, if you don't want anything random in your run, you should probably play IS5 because it is the one with less random stuff. You can control more things. At the same time, some people find IS5 boring because of that. Every single run is the same. Start with your squad, do an incredible number of encounters, get really strong with a stupid number of buffs, and destroy everything in your path. That can get repetitive. So maybe you should start from an older AS. There are people that love IS4. IS4 is considered a really good iteration, for example. IS3 is a bit more controversial, probably. The fact that it punishes you so much for some starting mistakes makes it so that not many people like it, but it has some hardcore fans. IS2 is, I don't know if anyone has IS2 as their favorite, but also I don't think anybody really hates it. It is simple, it is more relaxing. It is also really good to learn IS because you don't have to keep track of a myriad of things like you have to do in IS5. So you may play IS2 because it is more relaxing for you, and it is a fun game mode if you're tired and if you just want some light-hearted fun. It's perfectly fine. You will have to try them out and see which you like more and which stages are more to your taste. There is also one more thing to consider. Maybe you may want to play the latest released IS because you want to be on par with everyone else. IS usually has three expansions, like IS gets released, then there is the first expansion and then the second expansion. So there are three separate releases. The expansions add new stages and new collectibles or new nodes for the skill tree, various things. And maybe you want to have everything already done in beta S for when the expansion releases, so that you can have the experience of the expansion together at the same time as everyone else. That's also by the reason to play the last IS, maybe. The community experience is a thing. In this case, all expansions for IS5 are already released, but IS6 is coming in, I think, 3 or 4 months. So you may want to try that one, maybe as soon as it comes out, but play something else in the meantime. Maybe IS2 to learn again. I'm out of ideas of reasons because one would want to play S. Usually it is either because they like it, or because they want to try a new challenge, or because they want the rewards. Oh yeah, there is the challenge part. I think hardcore players, the ones that want really hard difficulties, like IS4. I'm not completely sure about this, but there is that. If you want different opinions, Reddit has mega thread where you can ask questions on the Arknights subreddit. Maybe go there, get other opinions, or maybe ask in the comments here below the video if you have any specific questions. I think I talked long enough, so I don't want to make it any longer. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.